Right, so we've got our injector pump here, and if you can see down here, if I turn this, you can see the needle's hardly moving at all. This is its natural position. We're on the right firing stroke because this is where the pin's going to go in. Now keep an eye on this gauge here whilst I turn the nut on the end with a 22mm spanner, and we're going to put this pin in to its fullest depth. Don't put it just on a little bit like this because it'll move. So we're going to turn that, shove that pin right in. Whoa. And we can see down here on the gauge it is at 131. It is not at its specified place, which should be 1.54mm lift. Now I set them to 1.6 and it gives them a little bit more sparkle to this engine. It makes them a little bit better, but this is out. Now again, this is a used pump. I don't know what it's like, but seeing I've got to take off the front flange here to move this around, and this one's kind of easy because it's got the little pin in here. So we're going to take that out, take the little bracket out, screw it up, lock it up, and then at the same time we're going to change the seal at the front because I've got some. So the first thing we're going to do when we take that, we want to take the flange off here. We're going to put our 22mm key in and just turn this and get our pin out. Don't ever try to undo that nut with this pin in. We've done this before, but you'll break the casting. Once you break the casting, it's finished. The whole pump's knackered because it has to be stripped down and a new body fitted. You can't do anything with it. So we've got a 10mm key here. Now this isn't always in every pump. Some of the later pumps didn't have this system, but this one has, so we're going to take advantage of it. I'm going to crack that bolt off there. I bet you I haven't got enough room to get that out. Have I? No. Let's move it forward a bit. There we go. There we go. So we're going to take that piece out. Keep an eye on the gauge, because this is a locking bolt here. Like I said, we've done this time and time again. So we're going to turn it to, there's one turn, and we're going to turn it to 160. Exactly there. I'm going to tighten this bolt up. This will lock the shaft to the body. And when we let go, ta-da! See, it hasn't moved at all. That was easy, wasn't it? So next I'm going to get my holding tool here and a couple of M8 bolts to hold this down while we take the nut off. Right, so I've got my holding tool on here. I'm going to keep a hold on it, but I'm going to use an impact to get the nut off. There we go. Don't put the pin in. Right, vitally important. Now we can take this off and using a puller, pull the flange off. So I've got here a very simple two-legged puller. I've got my impact 3/8 drive. Let's see if they pull it off. See how tight they are? Bang! You'll never get them off. You'll never get them off any other way. Now the timing has shocked itself and it's moved round a little bit. We're not too concerned about that at the moment. What we are concerned about is getting this seal out of here. Let me move the camera. So there's the offending seal. And in here I should have some unoffending seals. Now there are two different sizes. I think there's a 17mm one and a 22. That's the one we want. Is there a bigger one in there? No, these are all the same. That's good. These are Vuitton seals. They're usually brown, usually. These are high temperature, more high performance than your standard regular oil seal like this. So now we're faced with the fact is, how the hell are we going to get that out of here? Well, it's kind of tricky because these seals are quite deep. They're a lot, you know, they're thicker. Well, it's the same thickness, but for the proportion at the size, it's difficult to get out. So I'm going to get a little drill, and I'm going to drill it, and I'm going to put a self-tapper in both sides and see if we can pull that seal out evenly. Fingers crossed. Well, I didn't have much success trying to drill that out. For some reason my drill kept running off, and I didn't want to damage the shaft, I didn't want to damage the housing, so we have to destroy this, getting it out by using a pricker thing here. And you can get under the seal and you can prise it out like that. Drop it on the floor. There. See, I was trying to drill it here and I thought, ooh, this isn't very good. But by getting it underneath there we could prise it out, so that is good. We've caused no damage to the shaft or the housing. Obviously we're going to double check this. Now you can see here that the new seal is just a little bit thicker, and it's got a sealing material around the outside, which one this one doesn't. Make sure it's all nice. I'll tell you what, we'll put some light oil on there. That's it. And then, see, that's sat nice into there. I'm going to find a socket so we can push this in. 13/16. It's just something I picked up. There you go. That's all you have to do. It's in there, it's nice, it's square, it's... Yeah, that's good. Trying to do it on the car, on the engine, is somewhat tricky. It's somewhat tricky here. But anyway, it's doable. Now, the thing is now, by all that shifting and meddling about, we've moved our dial gauge out a bit. So now, we're going to move the camera again, so you can see the gauge, and we're going to turn this until it's at the right position, I think. Right, this had jumped around a little bit, and this is why you do them in the vice, not in the car, because it'd be such a mess about. So we've got this set to 0 again, and we're going to turn the pump. There's 1 millimeter, and there is 60. Tighten up the locking bolt, and then back off this nut again. What we want to do really is trying to get that flange off without it jumping. This is a problem. So this time what we're going to do, instead of using the impact, which is a bit severe, we're going to keep the nut on the shaft, and then we're going to pull this off just using a spanner like that. That's what we should have done. Now we observe our needle, it hasn't moved one jot. So now we find our pin in there, and then we're going to put those bolts back into the holding flange. I know it's a mess about, but it's worth it. So we've got our holding tool on here, we've got our pin, this hasn't moved, and now we're going to tighten down this nut. But first of all, before we do that, we've got to put the spring washer back on. Well, I'd lost the spring washer. It had stuck to the bottom of the magnet on these balls here. Anyway, so we're going to tighten the nut up now. The torque should be 65 Newton meters. There's two different types of shafts on these VEs. This is the smaller one. There's a 19mm shaft as well. I've not really come across them, but VE pumps went for a lot of different vehicles. So we're going to tighten this one up to 65. We're not going to rattle it down with a gun or anything like that. And we're keeping our eye all the time on here to make sure that hasn't moved. Once we get up to there, then we'll hold our holding tool. But like I said, don't tighten it up with a pin in. I've got it here, you know, but it's only loose. But don't tighten it up with a pin. Once I get this nut wound down a bit, we'll take the pin out. Right. Pin out. Oh, bloody magnets everywhere. Right. Is this on? There we go. That's all she's getting. Did it move? No, not really. No, it didn't. So that's good. So that is in its right position. So that now what we've got to do is spin off our hold down tool. That's that. We're going to back off the nut here. Now I just had played back this video and you couldn't quite see for reflections on this thing here, so I'm going to try this again at a different angle to see if you can see. So hold on to that, back that nut off there, so that's at 0. Alright, now we're going to turn it to 160. Oop. Lock this up, and the pin will go in the hole. How simple was that? So now we know that that flange is on right, we've changed the seal, we've nothing to mess about with there. I'm going to take the pin out, undo this lock here. Now if you haven't got a lock on yours, on your later pumps, they didn't have the little locking, they had a locking pin. Well, should I say, they had this place to put a locking pin, but it was a different thread. It was too short, should I say, not a different thread. It was the same thread, but too short. This was, oh, I can't remember what thread it is now. It's a funny one, isn't it? Is it M10? Oh, bloody cob thing's gone to sleep now. Yeah, it's M10. A fine thread M10. So now we're going to put our locking plate in. Oh, and if you want it that long, let's measure it up while it's here. The bolt needs to be about 30mm long. M10 30mm, fine thread. Put that into there. Screw that down. And we are all happy. Yeah, no, we're all good there. We're good to go.